Hello duelists, it's Box here, welcome to MST.TV, and I've got an exciting video for you guys today. It's all about Mekk Knights. These guys are very pretty archetype coming out in the next set of EXFO. Not mentioning the set name just because it is a sensitive subject matter. Instant demonetization. Anyways, so Mekk Knights, this archetype, what's so special about them? How do they work? What do they do? Are they good? How do they play? What's their weakness? We're going to be talking about all of that in this video, so stay tuned for all of that. I also got a couple of replays at the end that will showcase what this deck does best. So, just to quickly summarize what this deck does, it is an aggressive stun-based deck that uses the column mechanic to smother your opponent out of all their effects. So how does it work? Well, we will go through that through this deck profile. In this deck profile, I will be explaining each of these cards slowly, a little slowly, not too slowly, just so that you guys get to know what they do. So starting off with Azure Sky. Mekk Knight of Azure Sky is one of the most, I guess, important cards in the deck. In fact, it's a secret rare, so hopefully it doesn't get too pricey, but he is a Stratos of the deck. Upon summoning this card from your hand, you will be able to search cards. But how does the searching mechanic work? Well, first of all these monsters, they all carry the effect of if there are two or more cards are in the same column, you can special summon this card from your hand to that column. You can only special summon the Mekk Knight X once per turn this way. So they all carry this effect. This goes across the board, which is why all the monsters are level 5 and higher. They require special summoning. Now, if this card is a normal special summon from the hand, you can add Mekk Knight monsters with different names from your deck to your hand, except for Azure Sky, equal to the number of cards your opponent controls in the same column. So you can search up to 3 cards if there is an extra monster zone monster that belongs to your opponent, there is a monster behind that, and a spell and trap behind that. You can search 3. Normally, you're only going to get 1 search. But if you're lucky, maybe mid-game you'll get 2 search because they did some sort of fancy combo that required them to line things up. That's always a possibility. But 2 or more cards in the same column also means your back row as well. So you can use your back row to kind of sandwich your monster out onto the field. Delicious Azure Sky sandwich. Giving you that delicious search. But you're not the only searcher in the deck. You also have Lavender Dusk. And Lavender Dusk is actually a much more flexible searcher. I would summon this one out first, then search the Azure Sky, and then Azure Sky perhaps search another one. But you guys got to figure out how you want to do it depending on the situation. Now, how does Lavender Dusk work? Very similar to Wind Up Rabbit. You can just use it to activate, to banish itself off the field, or banish any of your other Mekk Knight monsters. You can target them, banish them until your next standby phase, and they will come back. So it's a free comeback, free search. And this is also a quick effect, which makes it very useful. And since you get that search anyway, you want to move your cards off of the column, especially if you only have one column that has 2 cards. You can use this card to firstly summon itself out, get the Azure Sky, tag this one out to search another card, which would be the next one, which is Cobalt Depths. Summon Cobalt Depths, move Cobalt Depths, and then summon out Azure Sky, and the Azure Sky will get yourself another search. So you can actually get multiple searches thanks to this one card. I think this card is amazing. So just so you know, this is also a 3 of level 8, and you don't mind putting cards in the graveyard because this archetype does carry their own Call of the Haunted, and you'll know why their Call of the Haunted is so much better. But next card we have Cobalt Depths. This is surprisingly the best monster also in this deck. Like the other guys, they're great at searching, but this one is mainly your biggest pressure against your opponent. The only effect it carries is that it can target another Mekk Knight monster, or itself, or any Mekk Knight monster, and move it to a different column. That's all he does, but that is what makes it so scary because of the spell and traps and what the spells and traps offer to them. I'll get into that in a bit. I carry one of the column monster destruction. We have Crimson Lotus, and then we have also a column spell and trap remover, which is Golden Blossom. There's also the orange guy and the green guy, which I do not run. It's just because I don't really like them, to be honest. I'm going to be quite honest with them, because they don't exactly offer too much, in my opinion. And this build, I prefer to actually maximize on the synergy of actually summoning all Skull Deet. Now, if you're going to play this deck and you want to go first, you're going to need the next 6 monsters here. We have triple Grinder Golem, Grinder Golem is especially useful. Not only do you have the Grinder Golem plays, which can OTK your opponent, you also have this other thing to do, which is to shove a monster onto your opponent's side of the field without the need of Kaiju or them setting a card. This gives you a chance to actually go first and actually go into a Skull Deet and actually smothering your opponent to death, because you can actually get into, I guess, multiple Skull Deets if you actually do it right. Now, you go into Grinder Golem. Grinder Golem goes onto your opponent's side of the field. You can get yourself a search with the Azure Sky, and then you can basically perform the whole Wombo combo if you have Azure Sky and Lavender Dusk, and get yourself multiple searches and potentially even bounce back that Grinder Golem, because you don't want your opponent to keep a 3k beat stick. But all in all, Grinder Golem is basically a must play. If you don't like Grinder Golem, well, too bad. This card is just, to me, it is an essential card. Has been no games where I felt like Grinder Golem was a dead card, especially if I'm holding any of my other Mekk Knights. Gofu is also pretty good because there is a chance of you opening or going first, and you have Gofu. Gofu will allow you to go first. You summon out the Gofu, put a monster in the extra monster zone, and then put a spell and trap behind that. Therefore, you created a 2-card column. Therefore, you can sandwich your monster in between. You can sandwich summon out your other monster. So that's also pretty useful. And now we have Venus. Venus is your 1-card Skull Deet. It's worth the life points. And even if you open with multiple Shine Balls, it's okay, because Skull Deet can put them back to the bottom of the deck. And you can see my extra deck is very heavy on the whole Skull Deet thing, because you want to put as many monsters on the field as possible, because that's how you actually start down the effects when we go into the spells and traps. Hand trap wise, I'm running triple Ash Blossoms and 1 Maxi. I don't want too many hand traps in this deck because I actually want more monsters on the field. And hand traps, skipping a turn, the thing is, this deck isn't exactly super defensive. It's more about shutting people down, and you need monsters to shut them down. So if you run too many hand traps, you're not going to get there. Now for 1-ups, you have Regeki just to clear the board. This deck usually is a going second deck because most people build it to go second, but going first gives you that initial advantage to actually lock your opponent out. We got a pair of trade-ins. You have about 9 trade-in targets. I think you're okay in trading some of these in, and you don't mind because you also have like a Call the Haunted, a really good Call the Haunted type card. 1-up start usually just a set and then draw another card after you're done with that column. We also have Terraforming. I've been cutting Terraformings down slowly. I eventually will even remove this one, just because I think this field spell isn't that good. It's so high risk, and it's just not enough reward. You're only discarding a Mekk Knight card or a World Legacy card to draw 1 card, but your opponent can definitely just pop this card. This card does not offer you any kind of search, but to be fair, it does carry a second effect. If you manage to summon every single Mekk Knight once, including the one from the, I guess the one from the extra deck, the Link monster, you can just empty your opponent's hand and extra deck to the graveyard. Yeah, so I think that at that point is 0 chances of comeback. Can you do this in 1 turn? Very difficult, but I think it is possible. I'm not going to deny it. It is possible to do it, but it's high risk. And what are the odds of actually doing this? But the next spell card, key to the World Legacy, this is your Trap Stunner. So if your opponent has traps in the back row, you want to summon into that column anyway, so you can actually put this card in that column, and then also summon your Mekk Knight in that column, so that even if they have a trap, aside from like counter traps like Solemn Warning, Solemn Strike, they can't stop you anymore. And then their effects will be negated, because when your opponent's trap or effect activated in the same column as a Mekk Knight monster you control resolves, negate the effect. So as long as they activated in the same column, even if it gets removed off the field, it's still going to be negated for that trap. So then we have True Depths of the World Legacy. This is your Call the Haunted. Target 1 level 5 or higher monster in your graveyard, special summon it. If this card leaves the field, destroy that monster. So it is a Call the Haunted. It does have that attachment, but when a monster's well, sorry, when an opponent's monster effect activated in the same column as one of your Mekk Knight monsters resolve, when they resolve, negate that effect. So yeah, you can stun out monster effects by just sharing the same column as one of your opponent's monsters. And of course, the last one negates spells, and this is an attack booster by 1000. You can, I believe, damage step this one. Yeah, it really just screws you over your opponent. And all these effects are you can. In other words, you can activate these cards even if you have nothing in the graveyard. You can just flip them over and just not use the you can effect because it carries a second effect anyway. So there is an optional effect about that. So that basically covers the entire main deck lineup. So what's the point of all this stuff here? Well, we still have the extra deck. Jack Knight of World Scars, Mekk Knight of World Scars. It's kind of an interesting one because unlike most link monsters where you want co-links, this is the one that doesn't want any co-link. When it is not co-linked with anything, it gets its protection where it cannot be destroyed by card effects, and if there's nothing in the same column as this card, it can attack directly, stuff on those lines. And you can send a card that you control that's in this card's column to the graveyard, and then you can special summon a Mekk Knight monster in defense position out of the, I believe, out of the deck. So I only run one copy of this guy. I don't really go into him unless I really want to, because he's just a 3k beater at most right now. That's all I feel. And then I have Topologic for the one card OTK. I have the Skull Deeds, triple Skull Deeds, because I want to go into this as much as possible. I want to go through the deck. I want to cycle through the deck till I get my spells and traps. I usually like having one copy of this and one copy of this. This one I don't see as often, although I do like having it when I'm going second. But these are the main two that I want because I can shut down all the monster effects and all the spells. Monsters themselves, I want to completely slam on them. And then one really fun thing about this card, True Depths, is that it's very easy to make your opponent misplay. They summon a card, they activate their effect, and then you chain this card, revive your monster right into the same column, negating their effect. So I think it's a very good advantage play. Play one Firewall Dragon just for the OTK purposes mainly. One Decode Talker just for in case Gofu gets something. Akashic Magician for, of course, Grinder Golem. Proxy Dragon just in case. Again, I don't think I really need the Proxy Dragon in this deck because I rarely go into it. Security Dragon. Okay, TCG, we might not get this Security Dragon, but I think sooner or later we'll eventually get this card. Even if we don't have it, just play another Akashic Magician, really. Instead of playing the OTK build, you can play this card, or sorry, you can play Akashic Magician just to get that bounce again, so that you can use Grinder Golem multiple times. I am playing one Underclock Taker. This card is coming out in the EXFO set, so this is still technically TCG legal for us to have this card. Triple Link Spider and one Link Karibo. I wish I owned more Link Karibo so I can spam more of it, but triple Link Spider it is, since I do also have Shine Balls. But that makes up for most of the entire main deck. Side deck, I can't really show you a side deck because there's nothing really to side at the moment. We'll figure that out later on. Because of course all side decks are dependent on whichever tournament that you're actually playing in. But yeah, that covers up for most of this deck. Let's actually go into some of the replays, and I kind of want to talk about some of these. Alright, for the first replay, this is versus Dinosaur Shadal, which is a very interesting build. It was one of the more casual matches I started with. This is one of my earlier matches with the deck, and this is one of my earlier builds, which I did run a Ghost Ogre and a BLS. BLS being, well, I guess a light. It's actually pretty easy. Gofu, one Grinder Golem basically sets the whole thing off. Anyways. Opponent proceeds to set, I have a handful of monsters. This is the point where I actually felt like hand traps aren't doing very much. I enjoyed the Ash, but this part didn't help. So now I got a Terraforming, so I immediately set it so I can summon out the other one, Cobalt Depths, and then moved it to summon out the Golden Blossom. Basically, I just began digging through. I hit into a Shadal Dragon, which kind of caused a bounce, which I kind of didn't like, because again, I know I don't exactly have any spells and traps, and I'm kind of worried now. And this is, I guess, the part where hand traps come handy. Yeah, can't let him get that OV Raptor onto the field. Basically something. So I just set the Call to Haunted. And now I begin to special summon out my dudes. Unfortunate top deck of the Gofu, but it's okay. I managed to put two dudes onto the field anyway. See, my opponent made a misplay there, using Ultimate Conductor Tyranno in the same column. I did Ghost Ogre, it removed it off the field, and it was still negated. And this is the point where I get a Grinder Golem. And basic Grinder shenanigans happen now. And from there, straight to the BLS, and this basically finished. So from the previous match, you saw that I kind of got screwed over with hand traps and not having spells and traps to actually put my monsters onto the field. So that part did kind of suck, but I didn't even go into any of the draw combos. And look at this hand. This hand is like pretty nutty. So, you know what, let's see here. This is actually one of the games where the dude gets completely like smothered out. And I did make a couple of misplays here and there because I did not read my own card. Alright, let's go. So starting off with a Grinder Golem combo, going first with a Grinder, absolutely awesome. So starting off with the Search, Banish, Search, Skull Deet. Skull Deet effective summon out Venus, spam more cards onto the field. Basically making a perfect hand to deal with your opponent. I have one of each spells and trap. Oh, sorry, misread one of them. I thought I actually had more, but it was okay because I have the main negations available already. But I forgot to flip the second card here. I should have flipped it. He's using MST, so now I flip it, and they'll have a Mekk Knight in front of that, so that MST will not work. Genghis is trying to get a special summon, so I move the other guy in front of him, which negated him, and that actually just smothered him out of effects. And seeing that most of my monsters are much stronger than his, he's not exactly able to do very much, as he knows I'm just going to start moving guys left and right to deal with his board. And I also have a monster coming back next turn in the standby phase. As you can see, opening with a Grinder Golem, setting up a Skull Deed to do second Skull Deed, searching basically 3 cards or 2 cards, and then drawing 8 cards, putting back 6. That part was pretty amazing, and also getting that free special summon off of Venus was also very, very clutched into setting up basically a perfect stun board. Your opponent can't exactly do anything. If they activate Pot of Desires, oh my god, that really sucks for them. But you know what, let's get into this game. Opening with a trade-in, I think that was actually a bit of a misplay there. Oh, discard and drew into a Grinder Golem. Well, this is, I think this is the Grinder Golem immediate OTK. Now note that my opponent does have a set monster, so I can't just like kill him right off the bat. I had to be a bit more careful with my Firewall bounce. So I did not use my Firewall bounce just yet. I did the swing here first, and then I did the whole burn. So the bounce got rid of the monster, and that became an instant OTK, which is really nasty. This was more so Grinder Golem doing like 90% of the work, and the Mekk Knights just happened to fuel it with a couple of extra monsters so that I can save the bounce. So I got one more game for you guys here, and this is against the new Cyber Dark stuff, and here we go. Opening first turn with nothing. Can't really summon anything. Again, this is when there's too many hand traps, but there's still an Ash Blossom, so Ash Blossom always useful. But my opponent clearly has more than enough ways to actually handle my Ash. And my opponent is just getting so much synergy. And now we begin the search. See, once your opponent has something set up for you, you can actually just kind of go off against them. So this is when the control starts to happen. I can actually block off traps now with key to the World Legacy. So I activated the ability to search, and I'm moving my monster over right next to the Cyber Dark Claw so it won't get its effect, since it's considered as an equipped spell right now. And during the standby phase, I got 2 guys back because I banished 2 for the searches. And now I've basically stunned out the entire board. But I decided to go into the big boss monster just for shiz and giggles. Now, I missed OTK because I decided to go into our big boss monster. I basically stunned out the entire board at that point. And Ogre finally put its use in. And he is not getting that draw. And I just so happened to shift my monster a bit over because my Jack Knight of World Scars is also a Jack Knight or a Mekk Knight, so he was stunned out by playing in the wrong slot, and basically he got most of his cards negated on the very last turn, basically unable to do anything. So this is how you're supposed to smother your opponent. So that is all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you learned a thing or two about Mekk Knights, how you want to play it. Maybe you want to play a Mekk Knight Invokes. I know this deck can be hybrided with other decks, so definitely give it a try. And luckily for you guys, if you do play Invoke with this deck, it's fine too, because you want to fill your extra monster zone with a monster so you can spam more cards. And this entire archetype is light-based, so Mechaba is also a thing. And anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, hit me with a thumbs up. If you guys want to see more stuff from MST.TV, I'm beginning to cover more and more of the new stuff, so stay tuned for that. And I'm going to Japan, so I got an announcement for that too. I might bring some stuff back from the OCG land, maybe some sleeves, maybe some cool stuff, and I will bring it to you guys. I'm going to do some giveaways for my Patreon. Thanks for the support over there, and as always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please drop us a like so we know we are doing a good job, and you can also subscribe to MST.TV for more fantastic videos by clicking on the button on the left. Don't forget to check out our partners at Imperium Duelist. They make really high quality mats, including some of my own limited edition release stuff. And if you want to check out one of our past videos, click here on the right. As always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV, and I'll see you next time.